Tesla has officially canceled the current Model 3 and is now building something totally new. After selling hundreds of thousands of Model 3s all around the world for the past few years, they're finally building its replacement, which has many owners excited about what is to come and others furious because Tesla is removing features with this new vehicle and making some controversial changes that might just make it a downgrade over the current Model 3. So I thought now would be a perfect time to sort of take a look back at the Model 3, see why it changed everything, why it was so revolutionary, look at some really interesting things that came out when it launched, and also take a look at what is coming next, the big changes with Project Highland, give a bit of a final review, and talk about some things that I love and hate about the current Model 3, and tell you, of course, why everyone is so upset at the new changes Tesla is making basically any day now with this new vehicle. Let me tell you why everyone's happy, sad, mad, and all the rest. And also give a huge thanks to the Terry iOS app for sponsoring this video. And also I've got a giveaway happening at the end of the video. Stay tuned to learn more on that near the end of the video. So I don't want to get too into the weeds on Tesla history in this video, but I do want to give you sort of an abbreviated summary at why the Model 3 is a big deal because the story behind this car really is fascinating. For the last few years, Tesla's been operating on sort of this reverse funnel approach. It's all part of Elon's master plan, where basically Tesla makes a niche product that's a little bit more expensive, but the funding from that project lets them build something a bit more wide appeal and more accessible. Then the funding from that product lets them build something even more wide appeal and even more accessible, so on and so forth. And if we look at Tesla's history, that's what sort of led us to the Model 3. Looking back just a few years shows us it was the original Roadster that really helped get the company on the map and sort of laid the groundwork from a super expensive vehicle to a really expensive but less expensive vehicle that was the Model S and what would ultimately become the Model X, to higher end, more luxury electric cars that helped fund the company to build the more mass market, wide appeal car that eventually became the Model 3. Tesla actually debuted the very first Model 3 at an event all the way back in 2016, and somehow 7 years later, feels like a lifetime ago, it's crazy to look at this footage and see just how much of that original prototype still remains in the current Model 3 design's DNA. The shape of the car, basically the entire design, is exactly the same. Yeah, we don't have that super cool matte black option. I'd love to see those wheels. The interior here looks a bit different than what we've got today. But overall, surprisingly, especially given how often Elon and Tesla change their mind, this Model 3 we saw all the way back 7 years ago is still very similar to the current models still being built today, or at least the models that were being built, because that's changed, but more on that in a second. And if you weren't around for the early days of the Model 3, you might have missed out on some of those early quirks and features of the Model 3, like the fact that to get the car, you had to put down a $1,000 deposit, either online or in a Tesla store, as many people did this even well before the event. They actually put down, sight unseen, a deposit for a car they actually had never touched or driven, let alone seen, and they had to wait quite some time until they could actually take delivery of the model they ordered. Early Model 3s began rolling off the production line in Fremont in 2017, and the pricing around this time was a bit crazy if you look at it today. Early reservation holders basically had three choices of what they could choose to take delivery of: a $50,000 long-range vehicle, a standard range $35,000 vehicle with 220 miles of range, and then a dual-motor offering that was an all-wheel drive model with your choice of different configurations for more range or less range. Other notable differences included the fact that autopilot was not free. It was not standard with vehicles at that time. It was actually an extra $3,000 charge to get. You could also pay $5,000 for EAP or $8,000 for the full self-driving package, which is a far cry from the $12,000 to $15,000 it is today. Back in the day, back in my day, back when the Model 3 first launched, only $8,000. And even back then, Tesla was still promising the ever-elusive dream of full self-driving, which 7 years later, closer to that dream becoming reality, but is still not there yet. And even though the car did eventually launch, Tesla really struggled behind the scenes to build those Model 3s. Elon called that time production hell. It was when, one of the many instances where Tesla almost went bankrupt. And it was very, very hard for Tesla to build those early vehicles. And as a result, there were a lot of controversies around the car when it launched, specifically with build quality. That's where Tesla got a lot of its bad rap on build quality, were those early Model 3s due to panel gaps, paint issues, chips in the paint, just misalignments of things. This is where Tesla caught a really bad reputation for those early Model 3s and specifically the build quality of those cars. But as time went on and the years went by, Tesla dramatically improved Model 3 pricing and build quality, and production eventually became very standard and very efficient. One of the most notable achievements of the Model 3 is the fact that they actually did deliver on the promise of a $35,000 base configuration in the form of what they called a standard range Model 3. And originally, there was a lot of talk that Tesla would only achieve this vehicle by some extreme cost-cutting measures, like putting cloth seats instead of leather seats, maybe giving us a smaller screen, having no panoramic glass sunroof, and just sort of making the car a lot more affordable by making it a lot more cheap. And interestingly enough, that's not what Tesla did. Instead, they decided to take the slightly more expensive, a little bit more premium Standard Range Plus offering that was about $40,000-ish at the time, and basically software lock it down to sell at a cheaper price. Tesla found that it was basically way cheaper for them, instead of building a whole different Standard Range car, to take the Standard Range Plus, software lock the 0 to 60 time, software lock the top speed, and some of the other features like rear heated seats and battery capacity, and then sell that at the $35,000 price. And I have a particular fondness for the Model 3 because that's the thing that sort of kickstarted this channel. I randomly bought, well, I shouldn't say randomly bought, but I bought with a lot of love my first Tesla, a Standard Range Plus Model 3 back in 2019. And that's when I sort of uploaded videos on this YouTube channel and revived it after many years, and just thought that I loved watching so much content on this car and learning so much that maybe others would. Well, and then, well, you know how the story goes. Now, almost 4 years later, basically, actually, it's been over 4 years, I'm still here kicking around and making these YouTube videos, which I couldn't be more excited about. Model 3 early days were a lot of fun, and obviously as things got ironed out, it became more widely available. It became, targeting a much wider audience, and today it is an extremely, extremely popular car, only bested by sort of its successor, which is the slightly more versatile and very much loved Model Y. The Model Y would go on to launch in 2020 and ultimately become the most popular and best-selling car in the world. Not the best-selling SUV, not the best-selling EV, the best-selling car in the world, period, which is sort of crazy to see how far Tesla has come in a relatively short amount of time. But as great as all that is, there certainly have been some negatives about this, and specifically over the last 6 or so years, the Model 3 really hasn't gotten any huge changes to make it a bit more competitive to the ever-growing and super competitive EV landscape that we've got today in 2023. The last big refresh to the Model 3 really came back in 2020, where we got the Chrome delete from the factory, we got the all-new center console, later we got the Ryzen processor, the heat pump, we got the heated wipers ultimately, and every few months sort of build quality got better and better, and we got some smaller updates, but really nothing dramatically better that made it ultra competitive with what we've got today. Now, as exciting as Tesla's 2023 master plan is, there are still some features we'd love for Tesla to add that they're just not going to, like actually fixing their mobile app and making it better. But luckily, we don't have to wait on Tesla to get an amazing app experience on the iPhone. That's because there's an app that is available right now that will transform how you use your Tesla, allow you to give full control of your car to your voice with Siri shortcuts, and even control your Tesla with your Apple Watch. Yes, this is real, it's out right now, and it's all made possible by this video sponsor, Terry. With Terry, I can control my Tesla and open the frunk and trunk and unlock and start my car, not just from my phone, but also from Terry on my Apple Watch as well. If you have an LTE connection on your Apple Watch, you can basically control your car from anywhere. In addition to that, Terry has tons of other advanced features built in that you are going to love. For example, you can see a power report, you can look at charging and efficiency logs for your Tesla, and one of my favorite features, best of all, is that you can actually use Terry with Siri shortcuts to program Tesla functions with Terry and Siri shortcuts to use your voice. So if you want to open the frunk, for example, if your hands are full, you just say, hey Siri, open my frunk, and thanks to the power of Terry and Siri shortcuts, you can make that happen and control your Tesla totally hands-free. I mean, as you can tell, I am just a huge fan of this app. It's one of the sleekest and most powerful Tesla apps that I've ever used. It is perfect for controlling your Tesla. Hit the link down below to learn more. And also, if you want to use the code ROBERT, you can unlock all the Terry premium features for an entire year for just $20. Again, link is down below. Use the code ROBERT to get all the premium features for just $20 for a full year. Again, link down below. Check out Terry and get started for yourself right now. Control your Tesla in an amazing way with your watch, your phone, and your voice today, right now. Link down below. Check it out now. And before we move on to what is coming next, I thought I'd be very brief, just spend a brief moment telling you 3 things I love and 3 things I hate about the current Model 3 design that we've had now for the last couple of years. One of the things that I like is the current design of this car. Yes, according to all the leaks and the rumors, Project Highland is going to be a much better looking car. You're going to get that new front end, you're going to get the back end redesign. It is going to look nice, but even with this current model that we have right now, I still think it's a pretty good looking car as I try not to get hit by oncoming cars. Hopefully I can avoid that and still film this video. I still think this looks like a really good looking car. Yeah, it's maybe not as modern, but even if you look at other, cars passing by today, Model 3, still a really good looking car. So that I appreciate about this car. Something that looks pretty good and pretty modern for what it is today. The other thing that I like, and I think many do as well, I definitely appreciate these days, is the price and value and range of this car, especially when you factor in local tax incentives and federal savings and credits and rebates. You can get this car for what, around $35,000-ish, $40,000, depending on where you are in the world. It's a really good car. Even if you bought it for MSRP, it's still a really good car. And what's great about it is not only do you get a good design and good tech, which I'll talk about in a minute, but the range is really good. This is the rear wheel drive base standard Model 3, the bottom of the barrel that Tesla offers. And even this is giving you an LFP-based battery that you can charge to 100% and keep it healthy, and also gives you over 270 miles of range, especially as many consider this to be their first EV. If you're gonna sort of jump into an electric vehicle for the very first time, you're getting a really solid package and also a good amount of range. It's not gonna make you super anxious about range anxiety. Then the third thing that I appreciate, and something that has been controversial in the Tesla space, but I actually think is holding up fairly well these days, though it will change, is the interior and the tech. Now, I know Tesla has gotten some criticism, as I stop music here, for the minimalism of the interior of this car, because it is, missing buttons and it's missing dials and everything. You really have this one big touchscreen to control everything, and then a couple of physical buttons that will be going away in the refresh, specifically the stalks and stuff like that. But I do really appreciate the technology inside of this car. I love the big 15-inch screen. It's very responsive, especially the new Ryzen processor is stupid fast compared to the Intel processor in my Model Y. I think that obviously Tesla's delivering on a lot of cool features here. You've got the dock, you've got a growing number of sort of third-party apps with Apple Music and Tidal and stuff like that. You've got Zoom. If you want to do some Zoom calls in this car, you can open up the Zoom app and be able to do that, and even use the interior cabin camera. That's super cool to see. And I think that especially not just all that, but when you pair that with autopilot and full self-driving, and the fact that comes standard with every single car, I guess I should say the hardware comes standard with all the cars, autopilot standard, but of course you could buy full self-driving or subscribe to it at a later date, or even EAP. That is very cool to see as well. Autopilot as a sort of standard part of the car is a game changer. Having the ability to do full self-driving and EAP is amazing as well. Those are 3 things I love about the current Model 3. All right, then to briefly touch on 3 to 4 things I'm not a huge fan of. As much as I like the minimal interior, I do think that the wood trim, especially in the darker interior, is looking a bit dated. Tesla added the wood trim to the doors now as well. It doesn't look horrible, but I do think that it's definitely in need of a refresh. So that's going to be nice to see as we sort of see a bit of a different interior on Project Highland. But really my main gripes with the car, I guess, could be 3 things, especially with this model. The biggest one I have an issue with all the Model Ys and Model 3s these days is the non-powered frunk. I do think it's a little ridiculous for a car of this price, or when you step up to even a Model X or Model S, the fact that the frunk is not powered here is really annoying. It's nice that it pops open. You can use your, key card, or I guess not the key card. You could use your mobile app, or you can use the controls inside the car. But the fact that this is not powered to go up and down is really annoying, because you've got to close it a special way. You've got to to make sure you don't put your hand in the wrong place, especially when it's hot outside like this. It sort of hurts to touch, the part of the car because it's hot outside. Not having a powered front, I think, is a big miss on this car. Two other things I don't like specifically about this rear-wheel drive Model 3, though could apply to other models as well. I don't like where Tesla cuts corners and cheaps out. The interior ambient lighting is lacking in this car, especially in the lowest cost offering. Also, this Model 3 does not come with floor mats, which I think is ridiculous for a $40,000 car. And then the last thing, this is maybe a little controversial, but I don't think the audio system is as good as it could be. I think the Model S and Model X have a fantastic audio system, but the Model 3, even the more premium interior, which this is not, this is a standard or a partial premium interior, even the premium interior of the higher end 3s and Ys, I don't think packs quite the punch that many would like with their audio system. So if Tesla's obviously going to be making some changes, they're going to address all that stuff. They're going to hopefully fix all those issues. Obviously, there's going to be some downsides with removing stocks and stuff like that. Not everything is going to be getting better, but those are just, quick things from an owner who's been driving a Model 3 now for 4 years. 3 things I love, 3 things I hate. Now let's get on to what is coming next. So as fun as it is to sort of reminisce on the Model 3 and what it was, what's more exciting now is to sort of look a little bit more in the future and see what the Model 3 is, because things are about to drastically change very quickly over the next couple of weeks. And the reason I say that Tesla has canceled the current Model 3 is because, well, they have canceled that current model. Not only is Giga Shanghai in China now only building the new Model 3, this new Project Highland refresh, and like I mentioned in previous videos, this is set to be the biggest upgrade the Model 3 has gotten since it was announced and released a number of years ago. We're talking a front and back redesign with an all-new design to those parts of the car. We could see some new colors, new tires, a powered frunk, a heavily refreshed interior with the wood being removed and replaced by a new soft touch material, ventilated seats, a better audio system, new RGB ambient lighting, a new steering wheel that removes the stalks on either side. We could potentially see a rear entertainment screen, and just lots of other features and improvements and fit and finish upgrades that'll make this a huge upgrade over the current model we've got right now. Okay, so all this sounds good, right? Some refreshes to the interior, exterior, all this is great. Why could there be any drama, and why could owners be furious? Well, it really comes down to, I should say, 3 or 4 main reasons. One of the biggest, of course, is the removal of stocks. Many are just not happy that Tesla continues to not only embrace, but force their minimalism in their cars and continue to remove physical buttons that may not even need to necessarily be removed, just Tesla wants to do it. We've obviously seen this on the Model S, the Model X, the Cybertruck won't have stocks. Tesla is moving to this new smart shifting technology where it is done on the screen itself, and that looks to be the case for this new Model 3, and many people are not happy about what could be a new steering wheel and also the removal of the stocks because they just think it's going to be annoying and cumbersome and not necessarily needed. I agree with you. I don't know why Tesla is doing this other than the fact that they want to. Do they have to do it? I don't think so, but definitely seems like a want from their side over a need. The other big concern here is how pricing will change with this new Project Highland Model 3. There have been some reports suggesting that the price may go down on this Model 3 refresh and that the starting price tag could be cheaper, maybe sub $30,000. Others are saying that that's not going to be the case, that Tesla might be able to build this vehicle at a cheaper cost because they're really doing their best to really make the production process as efficient as possible and cut down on any unnecessary expenses. But the price of the vehicle may actually go up. And then you've got to factor in local incentives and the federal tax incentives. And many are concerned that pricing may go up on this vehicle, not down, which is why if you want to make sure you can get a Model 3 at a good price, you should look at the existing inventory discounts because you could save, I think, up to $5,000 on a current Model 3. You're not going to get the latest and greatest stuff, but if you like stocks and you like the lower price that it is right now, definitely order one now to sort of lock in those savings while you can. Then the other 2 controversies surrounding this vehicle have to do with sensors and then the Model Y. With regard to sensors, many are not happy that Tesla continues to sort of dial back their physical hardware sensors and rely just on cameras and vision technology. It's relying on cameras to give you visual measurements, where before we actually had ultrasonic sensors that were using ultrasonic technology to actually make those measurements a bit more precisely. And then there's sort of the conundrum of the Model Y, because many owners are concerned that as great as this Model 3 Highland refresh is, The Model Y is going to be sort of the odd child left out because according to Reuters and some other reports, the Model Y wouldn't be getting a refresh until the end of 2024 at the earliest. So if you want the latest and greatest advancements and you want the new design and maybe some new colors and all the best of the best that Tesla has to offer, you've got to go with a Model 3, which is not as versatile or, to the liking of many people who like the Model Y, because the Model Y simply isn't going to be getting these upgrades. So if you want the newer Tesla, you're going to have to get the Model 3 because the Model Y is going to be left out, at least for the next 18-ish months until we see a refresh maybe at the end of next year. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the Project Highland refresh? Your thoughts on what could be coming to the Model Y? Your thoughts on sort of the history of the Model 3? Do you have a Model 3? Do you like your car? What Model 3 model do you have? When did you get it? Do you like it? Do you think it's a fair price? Your thoughts on these changes, let me know down below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Also, doing a giveaway in this video, your chance to win a free Tesla shirt. All you've got to do is 3 easy things. They're all free. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment below, and in 1 week, I'll pick a random winner and give you a free shirt. Free Tesla shirt on me to you. All you've got to do is those 3 things. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. We can discuss. Thank you so much for your support. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see you all in the next one.